Bosnian sex trade run by the UN. I think it's out now. They do it everywhere because they have diplomatic immunity. I mean, they can commit crimes, rapes, murders, deal drugs. Who made the UN above the law worldwide? Well, global government makes itself above the law. The big mega banks are too big to fail. They set the rules. That's what global government is a select group of mafia insiders above the law. And they pass all these tyrannical laws to make you a criminal. And I'm tired of it. The globalists are evil. They're the greatest evil force on this planet. Does it mean every time they're attacking somebody that the victim is good? No. But it's all part of their global plan. National sovereignty is a firewall. And if you don't have that, their reign is going to be complete, and they are very wicked. So go watch my video and my special report about the UN murdering people en masse in Uganda and Angelina Jolie supporting that invasion. Headline, arrest Angelina Jolie for war crimes. And I mean it. She is a Joseph Goebbels for these people. We are calling you out. All right, let's hurry. I've got like 12 phone calls here. We just opened the phone system for about 30 seconds and got that many. Rick in San Diego, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hi, Alex. Prisonplanet TV member. Very appreciative of your fine work.
Thank you, sir.
Just a single point, Alex, because I listen to you every day, and I really try to, pay attention to what you're saying. And what occurs to me is when the masses of people realize what's going on with 9/11, when they come to understand widespread what's going on, that's the big point I'm getting from everything you're telling me. Because when I first heard you say 9/11 was an inside job, it took me back. And I'm like, how could that be true? Because I deal in evidence for a living. I present, evidence is what I do. And I started to look at it. And when you take the emotion out of it and you actually look at it, it lends itself to very objective analysis. And it's beyond any reasonable doubt.
Sure, it's not saying some Muslim extremists aren't bad or aren't on the payroll. The fact is the government used those attacks to take our liberties and was involved intimately.
And the money to make from the military wars, industrial complex,
and the oil and everything.
And what is that evidence? I mean, it breaks down to very simple particles, which is the implosion of Building 7 that was never hit by aircraft.
Hijackers trained at U.S. bases, hijackers given visas into the U.S., just like the Christmas Day underwear bomber, on and on and on.
And there's just so much of it. And let me say, I know about a tenth of what you know. I'm not trying to say I know a lot about this.
Oh, no, I wasn't like showing off with info. The problem is there's too much info.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest smoking guns are?
The biggest smoking gun to me is Building 7 and how it imploded. You've made the point many times that it fell into itself.
Well, sir, CNN said as they did it, they're about to blow it up. I heard CBS Radio that day say they're going to bring down Building 7 for everybody's safety.
And then Silverstein said we made a decision to pull it.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to the cops that were there by name on the show who were on the CNN footage who heard the countdown.
Oh, yeah.
I've had the cops on the show.
And it housed CIA records. But you've also made the point that the other smoking guns are the intact passports found in burned rubble.
Yeah, two magic passports found that day by the FBI. Who believes that?
How do you reconcile that with logic? And then, of course, the put options taken out on the market the day before.
And Marvin Bush being the head of security until the day before?
Yeah, and then one of the people from one of the agencies said we were mobilized to come out before.
That was Kennedy, the deputy head of FEMA, and then he said, I was wrong, and then later it came out it was true. It was Operation Tripod 2, which was a drill of attacks on the towers, so they'd already moved the emergency center out to mobile trucks the day before. I appreciate your call.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. God bless you. God bless you. Folks, this is not a game. I interviewed the deputy head of emergency management, and he talked about bombs in Building 7. He was dead 2 weeks later. I mean, they've killed quite a few people I've had on the show. I'm only alive by the grace of God and your prayers. Those people knew how real this was. And I may just have Palace on for like one segment. I'll get to your calls no matter what happens. I'm going to do it. Martin in Chicago, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex.
Welcome.
Long-time listener, Prisonplanet member.
Thank you.
I was just wondering why you haven't been covering, and I don't know if you have or not, maybe you have, but the Fukushima could have been a false flag. Even Mike Adams has a big article on his site back in June. The
problem is I can't prove that one. I mean, look, it got hit by a tsunami and an earthquake. The systems all failed. And I haven't seen evidence of a false flag. I'm not saying those that are wrong that do. I only go with false flag when I get incontrovertible evidence.
Well, the reactor 4 was in a total shutdown, was being totally retrofitted. That's proven. There's a guy with photos, like about 3 or 4 days before that happened. So that could not have possibly blown up due to, the tidal wave. That's just one of the things that they're talking about. And they're saying that professionals have come out and said that if a 9.0 quake actually did happen that close to Japan, the whole country would have been leveled. And supposedly there is very little building damage before the tsunami hit. So how could that have been a 9.0 quake?
The only evidence of that, and you're right about one of the reactors being in cold shutdown, so how did it melt down, which it did. And I've had physicists on to try to explain that. Look, all I'm saying is 9/11, total staged event. USS Liberty staged, Gulf of Tonkin staged, Ajax staged. As for Fukushima, I mean, they've had reactors totally melt down in the U.S. before, the one in Southern California in the 50s, and we didn't know till the 80s. I mean, real things do happen, but I think it's an interesting point. I'll have to look into it. Thank you so much for the call. Shane in Germany, Deutschland. Shane, you're on the air.
Hi, yeah. I'm a member of one of the 2 battalions of Apaches in Germany right now, and I just want to tell you that we're wide awake. I got about 20 guys. We're working on trying to understand what kind of legal recourse we have if we're asked to follow illegal orders. And, I order a lot of stuff from you guys. I've got, the citizen's rule book, but we don't have a soldier's rule book. And a lot of us are ignorant. We're working hard.
Well, until the 50s, you were given a rule book that said you weren't to follow illegal orders. Look, you got to make your own decision. Impeachment's been introduced against Obama for trying to launch these wars without Congress. It is illegal. I've had Colonel Schaefer on to say it is treason and it is illegal. He's still in the military, so he's risking himself. You notice they ignored that. There comes a time where you just can't shut up anymore. And if you do it, I do it en masse. I do it politely. I would use the legislation, HRES 107, to point out it's a high crime and misdemeanor. Your commander-in-chief says he takes orders from the UN, not Congress, soldier. If you're an officer, who commissioned you? The Congress. Who's your boss, the UN or Congress?
My boss is the American people.
That's right. And who do they elect? The Congress.
That's right.
The Congress has the war powers.
Entity that we have. That's right.
Yeah. So
I don't even agree with the war powers. But my heart is elevated higher than it's ever been before, just talking right now on this program. And I'm telling you right now, we've got probably 25% of this Apache battalion is former Rangers and ground pounders, and these guys aren't going to do this.
Well, let me ask you the sense of them. Why are they really concerned? Why are they waking up?
I've tried to figure that out. I was marginalized for probably 2.5 years. When I got back from my first deployment in Iraq, I felt like I was part of the German Luftwaffe over Spain, practicing the war machine, trying to find,
I'll tell you what, Greg Palast is coming up. Sir, Greg Palast is coming up, and I want to have you finish on the other side before we go to Greg, okay?
Roger that.
Okay, roger that. Don't hang up. Shane in Germany, then we'll get to Greg Palast, then Brian, Joey, Roger, Stacy, Alexander, Karen, Cody, Nicolette. That'll be it for calls, but I've got to come back and let him finish up, because I've talked to a lot of military that say they will not go under UN command. All right, we've got Greg Palast of the BBC, and he's worked for ABC News, best-selling author, former criminal investigator for the federal government, joining us on Fukushima 1 year later for part of this segment, part of the next, and I'll finish up with all the callers. Brian, right through Nicolette that are holding, I'm going to get to you. But Shane in Germany is a Apache driver, Apache helicopter pilot. My uncle was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam. Our military are such great people. But you're saying that a large portion of the people in your group are awake. Look, it was Admiral Fox Fallon, the head of CENTCOM, 5 years ago that said no to an Iran attack. Admiral Mullen, the last Joint Chiefs of Staff chairman, said no. The last head of the Mossad had to quit saying don't attack Iran. It's crazy for Israel and everybody else. So, you ask, how do you say no? I would quietly circulate to everybody that impeachment's begun against Obama. Have you seen the video where he says that the president now takes orders from the UN and Congress is not involved? If you're a new listener, folks, I've played it over and over again. They actually are saying the UN runs America. There's no brainer here. If they said the Russians, if they said the president now takes orders from the Russians, what would you do?
you've got about less than, what is it, about 1/3% of the entire population of the United States is in the active duty military. You know, that was about pre-World War II. After we had Pearl Harbor, went to about 10% of the whole entire population. I'm looking at possibly the U.S. military active duty being rendered irrelevant. Whatever's going to happen, whatever we're about to get involved in, everybody's spidey sense is up. But people are ignorant. They don't have what, in their gray matter, they don't have what they need. You look at G. Edward Griffin's interview with the KGB Rezmanov, you know, it explains, you know, how they demoralize the United States through the education system. People don't have... They're not armed intellectually with what they need. That's all I'm saying. Now,
exactly, but you were asking me, what do you do to an unlawful order? You know, as a soldier, you don't take orders from the UN, especially when they say Congress doesn't count. I mean, have you heard that audio from the Senate?
I heard it all, and I'll tell you what, if that's what goes down, there's nothing left.
I just hope listeners realize, I've already aired it a bunch. I mean, it's online where the Secretary of Defense says, we take orders from the UN, Congress, butt out. I mean, it's unbelievable.
I'm saying this every day. I am saying this every single day at work.
And you say people are starting to get it?
People get it, and I'm not alone. I'm just saying that... I
think you guys should say, if there's not a resolution...
We're in a race for rendering whether or not it's the unlawful federal powers that have been usurped irrelevant, rendering that irrelevant, or we're being rendered irrelevant as we partake in this Roman empirical, you know, takeover of the United States of the world, and we're being spread to the wind. So it's going to be, we're rendered irrelevant. Whatever event is going to happen, if we're going to prevent it, it's definitely feels like it's soon.
Well, I agree with you, and God bless you, Shane. Please try to call me back tomorrow whenever you can, but do whatever you think's best. But I would just point out, Obama's being impeached. He says the UN is your boss. If that isn't treason, I don't know what is, and I'd bring it up to your officers and let that sense go up through the chain of command. God bless you. I want to ask Greg Palast this question because he's written about it in his new bestseller, Vulture's Picnic, BBC reporter, American. Greg, we talked about this a month or so ago when you were on. The elite are making 40-to-1 bets like Corzine with MF Global with their own people's money. They're launching all these wars. They're trying to go into Africa now to get the resources, saying it's for Joseph Kony. They're trying to attack Iran. I mean, it's just, is there any level that this arrogance, this hubris is going to run out of steam? What do you make of all this craziness?
Well, there's a lot of money out there, man. I see them moving into Africa where, for example, I looked at the big backers behind Romney, the billionaires. They just seized a shipment of cobalt worth $80 million. You got cobalt, you got uranium. With the resurgence of nuclear power, remember, that means a resurgence of uranium. And that's not only the Republican side, but Bill Clinton's big backers are big in uranium.
Lithium, don't forget lithium.
You got lithium. And, of course, in Afghanistan, you have rare earths. You've got, there's a lot of resource out there. So the machinery continues so long as there is funding. I just was discussing with my good friend Roseanne Barr about this Kony, 2012 video. And, it's very, it's sadly funny. I just came back from the Congo and from Liberia in Africa, where I did filming on these warlords. What's missing from the Kony film about the Kony 2012, it's all about some crazy warlord out in the middle of the rainforest in Uganda. But there are warlords with murderous child armies that have run all over Africa. They don't pull AK-47s and mortars from the trees in the forest. They are given those weapons. There is a tremendous, tremendous industry in getting out diamonds, gold, you name it, and getting guns and mayhem back in, and people making money off the mayhem. So it's not about those Africans. Who's making the